Lightning entered the phone line, and he said he watched his body die. It's 1975, Aiken, South Carolina. Humid air, summer storm weather, the kind that builds pressure before it breaks. Dannion Brinkley is at home, on the telephone. In his own later telling, he was not living a gentle or reflective life then. He described himself as aggressive, angry, hard-edged. Later biographical retellings repeated that image of a man who fought often, lived recklessly, and carried a confrontational energy into everyday life. And that matters, because by his own account, what happened next changed him completely. Then, the lightning strikes. According to Brinkley's account, the surge entered through the phone line, ran through his body, and threw him backward. He later said, the current burned through him so violently that he was lifted and slammed down again. In his book and later interviews, he described the event as fatal in practical terms. He believed he died that day. And this is where the medical sequence becomes important. In Brinkley's later public account, he said he was clinically dead for around 28 minutes before returning. But later criticism challenged that timeline. Some reporting, including interviews with his physician and an early report on the case, argued he had been unconscious for a much shorter period, that some hospital details may have been expanded or remembered differently later. So the core event is stable: lightning strike, collapse, survival. But the precise medical timing remains one of the most contested parts of the case. What Brinkley said happened during that period is why the case became so famous. He described leaving his body, looking down on the aftermath, then moving through darkness toward light, and entering what he later called a crystal city, a cathedral of knowledge. There, according to his account, he encountered luminous beings, often summarized in later retellings as 13 beings, and underwent not just memory, but what he described as a moral life review, seeing his actions, feeling their effect on others. And then he described something even more unusual, what he called boxes, panels, scenes of the future, visions he believed showed events still to come: war, social upheaval, global crisis. In later retellings, he said some of what he saw later unfolded. Different versions emphasize different examples, but the central claim remained: he believed he had been shown history before it happened. And then, according to his account, he came back into pain, back into his body, back into a life that no longer felt like the one he had before. And the aftermath matters, because Brinkley did not describe this as a strange episode that faded. He described it as a dividing line. In later years, he became a public speaker, author, hospice figure, associated with support work for dying people, including veterans. The case then moved into the public arena. His book, Saved by the Light, brought the story to a mass audience. A television adaptation followed, and from that point, Brinkley became one of the most recognized names in the near-death field. Researchers and readers saw in his account themes found across many near-death reports: out-of-body perception, light, encounter, life review, transformation. But critics never stopped pressing on the details. They questioned the medical timeline, challenged some biographical claims, and argued memory can change under trauma, retelling, and public attention. So the case sits in tension, influence, meaningful to many, and still strongly debated. And maybe that is why it lingers. Because even when people disagree about the timing, the mechanism, the interpretation, the shape of the experience remains strangely familiar. A man is struck down. He says he leaves his body. He says he sees light, judgment, knowledge, return, and comes back convinced death is not the ending people think it is. Whether one hears revelation, memory under extreme trauma, or something still beyond explanation, the argument often returns to the same point. Not just what happened during the lightning strike, but what kind of life can come after someone believes they have already crossed that line once.